それでも不安があるなら無理に依頼はしない。君が決めていい。
And hey, if not, well, then all you have to do is say goodbye to a few of your paid vacation days. After a bit of an overly long recap, we continue right from last week with Kana being traumatized by her boss through his deviancy, so really typical workplace relationships. Kitsugu's just trying to get closer to his daughter is all. Nothing wrong with that. And to make matters more awkward, both Hitomi and their sales manager, Kaede Midorikawa, tried to take credit for scouting her. Then again, I guess the latter did have to take all of the brownie points he could, considering his last job was at McD's. And they also introduced their engineer, Kazuo Nikoyama. Oh, so this is what happened to Deku after Hiro Aka. He got even worse. Understandably, Kana started to regret every choice she ever made that led her to this place. That is until they broke out the hardware with their magical brooms, aka the flying vacuum cleaners. Okay, but seriously, it was sophisticated magic tech that she wasn't sure if she had actually earned the right to even use it. However, since their company was a startup, unlike the big corpos, they were willing to hire just about anyone, even total noobs. They would even provide on-the-job training, which, as we said last week, isn't something the bigger companies were interested in providing, when they pretty much had all the funds they could need to be picky with their candidates, and even pull some more experienced workers if they wanted them. Obviously, this is all meant to be kind of your typical underdog story, with Magilumiere trying to work with their limited resources, staff, and offices that were somehow just bandaged together. Don't know how that works. But yeah, on paper, all that sounded endearing, and it was. However, in this sci-fi fantasy, they did also need to follow some ground rules. Can I at least get that in PDF form? Though interestingly, Hitomi revealed that she had barely read any sort of manuals, which again is meant to reinforce her headstrong attitude of just learning through hands-on experience, which she then tried to share with Kana and got mixed results. Little side note, but I think it would have been funnier to actually see some of her crashes in full, but Kana's grunts also reminded me of Manatsu's many pratfalls, so it was good enough. However, to actually get her good at riding her broom, they decided to get some more manuals and guides. Yeah, that's a face that says, bitch, did you use our company funds to buy all of those? Still, Shikimoto seemed to take notice of how much progress Kana was making, so he decided to assign her to her first extermination job. Hey Kana, you wanna borrow my goggles while you're swimming in the deep end there? No? You good? Well, alright. I mean, yeah, I guess this is supposed to portray Shikimoto as a supportive boss who even noted all of Kana's latent abilities, having seen the footage of the previous episode's battle, and he was trying to foster those abilities. It is heartwarming stuff, but from a practical standpoint, it also does highlight the flaws of these sort of startup companies. I mean, while developing new talents and workers is always important, with any company IRL, or in this fantasy world, they do have to deal with some cutthroat competition that is going to inevitably force their hands. In this case, Kana was kind of being forced into getting good by already being assigned a lower danger but still really risky gig when she can't even ride her broom properly yet. And sure, Shikimoto did give her the option to turn him down, which I do like, but come on, how many people would decline after a freaking speech like that? Still, I did like this, as it did highlight the inherent risk and reward nature that many small companies do have to consider, and often take that risk in order to stay afloat. Anyway, Kana of course accepted, and thus needs some additional equipment, and I guess her old outfit wouldn't work anymore. Don't you dare let him include his own aesthetics. So after Deku proved that he should have stuck with teaching or whatever he was doing at the end of Hiro Aka, he very quickly produced Kana's henshin device, which turned out to be her employee ID. And I will say that while again, this transformation was a little basic and nothing too flashy, other than this nice Simple Gear-esque side jump, I actually really liked how they included Kana reacting to her first transformation ever. I mean, obviously, she would be enthusiastic about it, but it would also make sense that she would have to process some of this stuff too. It's cute, and yet also kind of parodies how overblown some of this stuff is. Granted, it wasn't as bad as her co-workers' reactions to it.
いつ見ても変身バッグは泣けるな具合悪いぜを刺激し
Unless it's done by Yu Yoshiyama, Nishiki Utoka, or Takashi Morita, they just really don't have the same impact like they used to. God, I'm such a nerd. Hitomi and Kana made their way to the extermination job, with the latter taking in her first flight. However, that wholesome atmosphere was soon ruined when they arrived at their job, which was to defeat a giant hamburger meat monster. And in a nice little bit of visual storytelling, with Hitomi noticing that Kana was still struggling with her broom, she decided to do the job by herself and rescue a trapped employee. And she did this by almost flashing the camera and riding on her broom backwards for whatever reason. Like, I guess it's supposed to give her better control, but it's a little hard for me to tell, really. Still, it did lead to a nice action sequence where she managed to rescue the employee and start to exterminate the Big Mac's revenge by using the Gate of Babylon. However, Kana noticed that Hitomi's broom was damaged based on what she read in the manuals, even though you could probably just tell by looking at the thing. But yeah, realizing that she was trying to take on the job by herself for her sake with a broken broom, Kana decided to pull a little move that even someone as inexperienced as her could pull off. And okay, last week, it's worth mentioning that we did consider bringing in some comparisons with the lyrical Nanoha franchise, but just couldn't find the proper place to put it in the script. And in hindsight, I probably should have tried harder, considering this is a show about a redhead in pigtails partnering up with a more experienced blonde. Hell, the comparisons kind of amp up when bringing in the third series, Strikers, where their characters become working adults, and the show focused a little more on the world building, though in Nanoha's case, it's a little bit more about government bureaucracy, since they do work for a military rather than a private firm like this show. The government will play a little part in this episode, but for now, Kana was going to try and pull the most Nanoha move ever. With that pretty awesome sequence, and a cute exchange between Kana and Hitomi that would probably get the approval of some Nanoha fate shippers, they capture the monster in a flash drive, which I'm starting to wonder how much space do those things take up? Is it measured in megs, or gigs, or even terabytes? Well, anyway, as we said, Shigimoto later got a call from some higher-ups, probably for the whole Starlight breaking the building thing, and also breaking some magical girl conventions, though I think that applies to this show in general. Anyway, the episode ended with everyone properly welcoming Kana into the fold, after again acting like some big friends to the Precure. This was a very effective follow-up to the first episode, which focused a little more on world building, and this one was a little bit more about the character building. Obviously, this one was all about Kana trying to figure out her way around her new environment, whilst also letting us know more about the titular company of this show. As a result, it does make both entities a little more endearing, though with the latter, it also becomes a little more creepy, at least with their co-workers. With a series like this, there's a lot of plot points that need to be juggled in regards to both the world and its characters, and so far at least, I think they've handled it very well, especially with the advantages of the visual medium that is anime. Just little touches like what we pointed out with Kana marveling at her transformation, or Hitomi glancing at her partner go a long way at humanizing them through wholesomeness and amiability respectively. And while I still maintain that this show is far more shonen than Magical Girl, I am also really appreciating some of the subtle references to other media like Nanoha, which is likely one of its biggest influences. I really wouldn't be surprised if male characters are supposed to act as surrogates to represent the mangaka Seika Iwata's love for the genre they're parodying. Combine that with some great action that actually does compete with some of the best of the magical canon girls, and you get a solid second outing for the series so far. Personally, I would have appreciated a little more social commentary like we got with the first episode, but I think we'll probably get more of that later, as like with this little startup company, well, they're just starting up. Thank you for watching, and as always, maybe check out some of our other videos on this channel. Personally, the season so far has been quite enjoyable with what we're reviewing, and what I'm watching on my own time, though if you want to share your own personal watch list, do feel free to leave it in the comments below. Still, look forward to whatever may come next. Until then though, farewell for now my friends, and he's designing another costume. Okay, dude, why don't you just get a Pixiv account already?